Welcome back, and thanks for following along on this series. I've uploaded a chart with the data I'm collecting. There should be a clickable link in the description and in a pinned comment. If it doesn't work, let me know. Let's get this out of the door. All right, so getting ready for the next batch. Going back to a dairy one, I'm doing shredded cheese this time. And also, so this is the water from the last batch, the apples, over 8.5 pounds of water out of that. First, I'm going to make sure that there's nothing, everything's wiped out well. So I got my little grabber with a paper towel, go down the sides. Again, I'm just looking for any water or any food particles. If there's anything in there that I'll know it needs cleaned. A little bit of dampness I'm not worried about. I'll wipe that right out. As long as, yeah, so there's some water, but I'm not worried about that. Like I said, I just want to make sure that everything's clean. I'm not seeing anything on the shelves. Okay, a little bit of dampness there. So while commenting back and forth with one of the viewers, got into the amount of space between the rack and the chamber barrel. On mine, there's less than 1/4 inch between the metal, or about 1/4 inch between the metal of the rack and the sides of the barrel. So from the metal of the rack to the side of the chamber barrel is less than 1/4 inch. And then this insulation piece that's on top, I added a second one to add even more. But the original one from the corner of it to the barrel is about 1/8 of an inch. And that's true on both sides. And then years ago, I'd added this angle piece to keep the ice from coming down and hitting the trays and this shelf, because it would start to build up and hit this shelf. And then of course it'll just re-sublimate and then try to adhere to the wall again. But as it builds up, it just gets into that cycle. I'm going to try, after all these years, I'm going to try something new with this. So I'm adding a piece of the corrugated plastic along this side instead of the metal piece on this side. That might help insulate it from the heated tray to that ice. And I've just got it on the one side, not on the other side, so I can compare. Unfortunately, this batch being cheese, shredded cheese, has very little water, so it's like I picked the worst time to try something, but it'll be there for the next batch too. So we'll get this set to go now. So we'll get the shield in place, get it shut, and then next we'll get this running, and it's about 8:15 tonight. Oops, I forgot the thermometer. I want to get that in there. Thermometer's in. So now customize, start custom, and go. And I'll turn off and I'll shut the drain valve too. So once that's had enough time to cool, I'll get the shredded cheese in. It shouldn't take very long, and the shredded cheese is only refrigerated, not frozen. And also it's big and fluffy. I don't know how much of it's going to fit on the trays, but it doesn't have very much water in, so I don't have to worry about overloading it with cheese. Cheese, grummet! Okay, doing shredded cheese. Shredded cheese has very little water in it, so I've got 10 pounds of shredded cheese because we were at the chef store and bought cheese. I'm going to put 2.5 pounds on a tray. Freeze dryer has been cooling for close to 2 hours now, so the thing's really cold because, you know, I got busy doing other things. Let's get the cheese on the trays and get them in the freeze dryer. 5 pounds of cheese from the chef store. So nice cold trays. Now these, I'm going to still put the parchment on there. I'm going to add a paper towel on the bottom just in case any oils come out of the cheeses. So 1893. Whoa! Okay. Don't forget to clean the tables so when you make a mess, you still use the stuff. I still need 400 more. So let's just get it on there and see what it looks like. Okay, this looks ridiculous. So I think I'm gonna do it in 2 batches for the cheese. Okay, there's no way. So I'm not going to have that much cheese on a tray. I'm gonna step back and do something a little different because that's ridiculous. So I'm gonna go to tray 2. All right, so I'm going to do this one a little different. Let's put a more reasonable amount on there and figure out how much should be on there, because that's not going to work. So I'm going to tear it out. Okay, I'm going to do it this way. So it's 1 pound 4 ounces. So that's just 1 1/4 pounds. So that's what I'm going to do. So this batch is only going to have 5 pounds in this batch. So I'm going to add thermometers to each one of them. Going to just kind of push them in there. And then last, I'm going to cover them all with a paper towel. We'll get them in the freeze dryer. So it's already been cooling for 2.5 hours. So now let's get them in there. And this should be a quick batch. It might be less than 24 hours. I should be able to start the other half tomorrow, I think. So on this cheese, I failed. I'm only doing 5 pounds because it's just so big and fluffy. It would just simply fall out unless I put bigger sides on it or something, which would be a good idea. And maybe I'll do that later. But cheese also has very little water. I think it will freeze dry in less than 1 day, so I can still keep up the schedule of every 2 days having one of the items done. We'll put it in there and see. Hopefully it'll be done by tomorrow. I got that one messed around. That one's one. All right, they're in there. We'll check them, see how they go. It should be a very low water batch. It should be pretty quick. At this point, the display shows -16 degrees. Inside with the thermometers, there's a 48-degree difference, with the bottom of the barrel being -34 and the top tray being approximately 14 degrees. That's one of the reasons I put thermometers in. Cheese is a very low moisture food. It freeze dries very quickly. I only have 5 pounds in there, so I'm going to cheat and do a double batch thing. It's only been going for 16.5 hours. It says it's should be really quite done already. So I'm going to take it out, weigh it, put it back in for another hour or two and check it, see if it's already done. Okay, so we owe the universe pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and down arrow past that. Open the drain valve. Okay. And And starting at tray 1. And it's quite toasty. I'm going to rotate the trays top to bottom like I did before. So 11-12. It's dropping between 11-12 and 11-11. And I'm going to put it on the bottom one because, yeah, that's significantly cooler. So tray 4. It was heavier to begin with, and so it's still heavier now. That's fine. So 11-19. And then I'll put tray 3 up, the second one, and tray 2 with this one. All right, get them back in there. Yeah, all the thermometers show that they're all up to 120 to 130 degrees. Well, tray 4 was only 110, the one that was at the bottom. Close the drain valve. The drain is closed. More dry time. I did. It's still cool. Okay, we'll come back and check it in an hour or two. Been another hour and 3/4. Going to take it out and check it. So that went down a part of a gram. So check this one. This is the one that was on the bottom. So it's the most likely to have lost weight. So the ones that were in the warmer spots lost nothing. This one lost just almost 2. I think we're good to go. And I'm not defrosting this time. There's very little water. It's a very light load. So we'll go over and to the bagging area where it's quieter. So that 5 pounds of cheddar cheese is out now. I've been doing 10 pounds on a batch and trying to get 10 pounds in each batch. But the cheese was so big and fluffy, I was worried about it falling over and falling out. I guess I could have mounded it real high. It has very little water in. I knew it would freeze dry very quickly so that I could just do 2 batches in the 2 days. So I'm going to treat this as one batch. I'm not even going to defrost the freeze dryer in between the 2 parts of it. I'm just going to let it stay cold. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to bag what I have, put the other part on the trays and put it right back in there. It'll be frozen very quickly and then get the freeze drying going. That way it'll still be done by tomorrow. So I think that's an okay way to handle this. Now I could have packed the trays, I could have added little sides on it, I could have done lots of different things, but I think this is a way that'll work for the shredded cheese for me. So now we'll get them weighed to find out the net weight and then figure out the bagging weight and find out if we can do a pound in a bag or just a ½ pound in a bag. Might only be able to do a ½ pound in a bag because it's pretty fluffy, but it also should pack easy. So we'll find out. So there's the trays. Get the thermometers out. So I've got the bag started, a batch number, what it is, and the date that it went in the freeze dryer. I don't have a weight yet because I'm going to find out how much will fit, see if I can do a pound or if I can only do a ½ pound. So tray number 1, and when I did the gross weights to begin with, I did not have a paper towel on it. So I put a paper towel on the top because I wasn't sure how much oils would come out of this. Some things like ground beef, sometimes oils come out, and I want the paper towel on top to catch anything before it splatters on the freeze dryer. Makes it for easy cleanup. I don't see anything on these, so I probably didn't need this. It was probably complete overkill. 1097 and 1092, 1088. Now calculate how much net weight it is, and so how much per pound. It started with 5 pounds. We'll find out what it is now. And the paper towel on the bottom is going to be a little bit of a trick because it's going to kind of get in the way. And if there's no oils on it, at all, then on the next one I won't put the paper towel on the bottom. If there is, I will. I want it to soak up any of that. So we'll see how much will fit in there. Okay, that's already over 80s. Okay, I'm gonna take the paper towel out of there and look at that. So there's a couple of little teeny spots on it. I don't even know if that'll show up. So very, very little oils come out of that. I probably don't need the paper towel, and certainly I didn't need the top ones. I realized that after I'd only used up 2 trays on 5 bags that I couldn't have been putting 3/4 of a pound in each bag, so I had to go check it. So it's a 1/2 pound in each bag is what I'm putting. So a 1/2 pound is 137.1 grams. So anyway, so I adjusted the first 5, now I'll finish the other ones. So 137.1 grams is a 1/2 pound, and that's a nice amount of cheese in there. Just can't seem to get through one without having that kind of stuff happen. If you knew where your hands were, you wouldn't do that. All right, so I have 10 bags with a 1/2 pound in each. I'll get the oxygen absorbers in there and get them sealed up. I'm going to put the 300 cc oxygen absorbers into these, zipper them shut, and then seal them. So I'm going to try to just kind of slip them alongside the cheese down the edge so I can seal them well. All right, now get them sealed, squishing out any extra air I can. Okay, first one, gonna do it twice to make sure that it's had time to really seal that thing. Okay, it still doesn't look like all the way melty, so I'm going to do it one more time. All right, that looks excellent. Yeah, see, now it's quite warm there, so it's not sucking away as much heat. So if you've got a lot of bags in a row, sometimes I turn it down just a little bit after 5 or 6 bags so that it doesn't over melt it. But as long as I let it set for a few seconds before I open it, it doesn't seem to be a problem. So those are all sealed, but I'm not going to put them in the bin until I get the other half of the cheese done. So maybe I'll call it batch 510A or something, because I really want it to be part of this batch, so not really a separate batch, but don't know. Okay, we'll get the next one back in there. The cheese, with so little water and only 5 pounds instead of 10, took less than 20 hours, about 19 and a half hours. So it also only has about 900 grams of water that got removed. The last few batches, all the rest of the batches were between over 3,000 to 4,000 grams. So I'm not going to defrost the freeze dryer. I'm going to kind of treat it like when I do marshmallows or something with very, very little water. I'm not going to defrost the freeze dryer. I'm just going to stop it and restart it immediately, so that way it stays cold. And I'm going to put the next load right in there. And I don't know if I should call this batch 1 number 11 instead of 10, but I'm going to keep it at 10 because it's part of the cheese of this batch that I meant to put all at once. And I probably could have done it, and in the future maybe I'll try that again and just stuff all the cheese onto the trays. And I don't know how to keep it on there, but Maybe make some little taller edges for it or something. Anyway, I'm going to get the cheese on the tray. We're going to go over to the machine, stop it, start it, and get it going. Going to get the other bag of cheese on these 4 trays. And in the future, maybe figure out how to stuff the 10 pounds on 4 trays. The cheese is loaded on the trays, the thermometers are in the cheese, it's ready to go back in here. Because of the low water load, I'm not going to do any defrosting. So I'm going to shut it off. So I'm going to put I'm stopping it by hitting no defrost, and then I'm going to customize, start, and continue right away. So it's already cold. It hasn't finished warming up from before, but I've got a new time on it and I'll be able to bypass a lot of that. So now let's go into the machine. We'll get these things loaded. I wanted to show the lack of water in there. All right, so hopefully you can see in there. You can see it's a very, very little water load. It should only be like 900 grams. So I'm not going to defrost. I'm just restarting it. And we'll go from there. It's what I do when I do marshmallows or when I had to do the one re-drying. Then there's no real reason to defrost between. Okay, let's get that going. So next time I do shredded cheese, I'll just force it. I'll stuff all 10 pounds on the trays. And it's not going to take near this much time because it's so cold. So I'll just watch this and double check it. For now, I'll set it to go in 4 hours freeze time. Okay, we'll come back and check it. Okay, it's been just about 19 hours. Going to stop it, check it. It should be done now. It says it's done now, but trust but verify. Tray 3 will go up. So, and it's not that I don't trust the machine, but I would never trust the machine. Would you have your dried bags and then just pour in a thimbleful of water? Probably not. And I'm not going to with this, so I'm going to double check it, make sure that it's actually dry. And to do that, I'm just going to run it a bit longer. Add more time. Continue. And fans already, or the vacuum pump's always cool. So we'll come back in an hour and a half or 2 hours and double check it. It should be done, then we'll bag it. All right, the pump's running again. Just give it a little jiggle. There's a few little bubbles of little blobs of water going through, but very little. Such a dry batch that there's just not much there. But boy, beautifully clean oil still. Right, it's been an hour and 40 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and go past that. Hit the no frost button or defrost button. So everything was dry, no changes. So I'm going to pull the thermometer out from underneath. Get the defrost fan into place. And my little defrost baffle. And get that started defrosting. This one won't take too long to defrost because there was so much less ice in this batch because these were very low water items. This is the power usage for all of the cheese, so 23.47 kilowatt hours. I'll reset it and get it ready for the next one. The second half of the cheese is out. I'm lying and calling this one batch, even though it went in as two different halves. But if you can't lie to yourself, who can you lie to? So I'm calling it batch 10 or 510 and 510B so that I can keep it with 10 pounds a batch. I should have put all 10 pounds in there. I was just worried about it falling off the trays. I could have packed it down. It would have been fine. And with such a small amount of water in it, that's what I should have done. And that's what I would do the next time. It all worked out fine. Still got it done in the 2 days. So we'll get these bagged in 10 half-pound bags, same as the first half. That seems to be a good amount of cheese and a good way to accomplish this. And so I can still use the quart bags. And then the next batch going in is going to be a pasta to go with other dishes. So it's the starches that I'm trying to do, and we'll get that going as soon as this is defrosted, so later today. So the batch time on that one was a little less than 21 hours. And we could discount the last 2 because it was dry, 19 hours, and it was probably actually done. If I were doing many batches back to back under the same conditions, then I would start to trust it. I would still check samples of it. To me, there's no reason not to check it. It costs me virtually nothing. I'm going to just put it back in and check it. Okay, so let's get them bagged. I'm not going to make you watch all the bagging of this second half. It's the same as the first half. We'll just jump to the end. Okay, we'll get the oxygen absorbers in these and then get them sealed. Just tuck them alongside the cheese, squish out any extra air, and zipper them shut. And you can use a vacuum chamber and vacuum them out. I have one of the Impact brand sealers. I've been real happy with it. Had it for 5 years. Used to use these in commercial settings. Been real happy with them. Is the gross weight after it's finished. That way, if there's any water coming into there for whatever reason, a bad seal, a puncture, a bad batch of bags, I'll know just by weighing it. With that done, the bags are ready to store. I'm putting those in bin 2 with the other bags and mark them on my sheet so I know where they're at for later. We're going to continue loading bin 2. We've got the cheese, just going to lay them all in there. I could tip that up a little bit. So just going to lay them all in there and kind of nestle them in there so that they don't move around a lot. All right, so those are all in there. So hoping to get 2 more batches in here. So pasta, and then next is going to be meatballs, which could go great with the pasta. Okay, the shredded cheese batch is done, bagged, and put away. We're waiting for the freeze dryer to defrost so I can get the next batch in there. Cheese took a total of about 40 hours. I did split it into 2 pieces because I was afraid that stuff was going to fall off the trays. I should have just packed it down on there. It would have been fine. For the next time I did shredded cheese, I would put the whole 10 pounds in there and just stuff it down there. It would work out fine. I bagged it in 20 bags of a ½ pound each. It looks like a good amount of cheese for each one. I used about 23.5 kilowatt hours to do all of the cheese. Cheese, grummet! Ah, come on! I bagged it in 10 bags. Nope. We owe the universe pressure because you can't actually go negative, but we have negative.